Hi, welcome to the part 4 of this video series. We are looking at some real certification questions for AWS DevOps Engineer Professional. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you like my videos. For questions 1 to 15, please refer parts 1, 2 and 3 of this video series. So here we are talking about how long are the messages retained on a SQS queue. So what is SQS? It is simply, the full form is simple queue service, and it is a managed message queue service. What it means is point A to point B. If you want to move data, you can do it through SQS. Like if you received 4 messages, now it will send 4. Then after some time you receive 3 messages, it will send 3. After some time 5 more messages, it will send 5 more messages, like that. So basically it is trying to help you with the message oriented middleware, and these are the benefits. You can reliably deliver messages, it's elastic and cost effective, and it keeps sensitive data secured, and obviously you eliminate the admin overhead. That is what SQS does for you. Now if you talk about the retention period, you see this, the retention period is anywhere between 1 to 14 days. The default is 4 days. You see this, the default is 4 days, hence option D, 4 days is our answer. Let's look at this question, a big question. The question is not big, but the options looks big. So this question, what it is asking is, a business has granted restricted access to AWS of its to its workers. Okay, and so DevOps engineer might take the responsibilities of administrators. It's simple. Like today, you are a DevOps engineer, and you may have to take on additional responsibilities of an administrator. But if you do that, then the security team would like to know when you are doing that in real time basis. That means some sort of alert should go to them, automated alerts. What is used for alerts? SNS. Topic subscription is required. Out of these 4 options, we see SNS only in the last 2. That is here SNS topic, and then here SNS topic. I do not see it in A and B, so I am rejecting A and B. They cannot be the answers. Now let's look at C and D. They are very identical. Both are using event bridge. That is fine. But what is the difference? The difference is C, if you see, it is using management console sign in event pattern as a trigger to publish a message. I'll tell you what happens is, in the real life, when an administrator is working, and suppose you are a DevOps engineer and you become an administrator, there is no need to definitely go to management console. You can do it through AWS API calls. You can fire some scripts through API calls. So what is important is, it is not important that the management console sign-in event pattern is tracked and SNS messages should be sent. No, you can do it through AWS API calls. That's why I want to ensure that whatever actions you are doing through API calls, it gets logged in CloudTrail, and I use that event pattern to trigger a Lambda function that publishes a message to SNS topic. It's a long route, I understand. The option C is the shorter route, but option C will only work from management console. What if this guy just fires API scripts? So there will be no logging and the security team will be in dark. Now with AWS API call, if you do this, even if you're using API calls, it will still log what, as an administrator, what are you doing. That is the whole intent of this question. So D is correct as per my understanding. Now let's look at next question. So basically an organization has many accounts, and the next thing that is important is there are unencrypted EBS volumes. You should identify it so that you are not compliant, or wherever you are non-compliant, it should be tracked. And a DevOps engineer must automate the deployment and guarantee that this compliance check is constantly active. How will you do it? See, whenever you see such questions, close your eyes, just think about AWS config. That is the answer. So in this, out of 4, you see only B has AWS config. This is my answer, because you can create such kind of rules to be implemented across the organization through AWS config. Why? Because AWS config helps you to automate the configuration part. This stuff is also related to the same. So what it will do is, it will create a rule, it will check if EBS encryption is enabled and deploy the rule using CLI. Then it will create and apply a SC to prohibit, stop and delete AWS configuration across the organization. So this is my answer. Let's look at the next one. See, there are a number of legacy apps. Okay, so like in this diagram, there are 3 legacy apps, and each app, they generate logs in different formats. Okay, that is the question. Now you want to consolidate this all logs in a standard format before you can process it further. That is what you have to do, and you have to do it with least amount of money. These are your 4 options. So first one says you send the log to EMR cluster. EMR cluster is the most expensive thing on AWS environment, and it is, it is a huge cluster. You do not require that for these small logs. So A is totally ruled out because it is going to cost you big amount of money and not small amount of money. You want cheap solution. Let's look at B. Have the application send its log to QuickSight. QuickSight is a reporting tool. It will never normalize the logs for you. Okay, QuickSight is a reporting tool. It is not an ETL tool. Now C talks about keep the logs in S3 and use Redshift Spectrum to normalize the logs. See, we have to process and harmonize the logs before we upload the files to S3. That is the question. Now we cannot keep the logs in S3 and then use Redshift Spectrum to normalize the logs, because we have to do the normalization before the files get uploaded to S3 buckets. So C is wrong. That leaves us with D, and this is the answer for us. So what here it will do is, it will use Kinesis agents on each server to upload the logs and have Kinesis fire out using a Lambda function to process it before it writes to S3 buckets. Now this question asks which commands out of these we should use, which will help initiate the evaluation process for AWS Inspector. See, Inspector, what it does is it helps you discover potential security issues, and that is why you use the assessment. So you have to first create an assessment target to do the assessment. So when you do the assessment, you do a start assessment run. That is a syntax. And from a syntax perspective, this option A is the right answer, because option B is talking about example run. C also is talking about example run. D is also talking about example run. What we have to do is, when we start such assessments, create these assessments, we have to use a template. Okay, hence A is the final answer. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you like my videos. This brings us to the end of part 4. I will be posting many more such informative contents around this topic. Stay tuned and see you in the next part.